Very good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Can one of you acknowledge, please?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Wonderful.
Audible.
What is that we were doing yesterday when we broke off the class yesterday? What was the topic we were doing?
So we're discussing about the composer, mycology composer.
Then a smart contract. That was way behind. We then discussed a smart contract on how do you, what are the components of a smart contract, where we are told about the car sale from Sarah to Bob. Do you remember, or is it has become what is it distant memory in your mind? Do you remember that?
Yes, sir, we remember.
Yeah. The last part of that thing, if you have written and kept somewhere, is what is the response. In the response, we had a few lines. We told response. How did we write? We told response, and then we said the output, which is nothing but I said the car which was being sold. That is car one dot current owner. Who is the current owner? Current owner is Sarah. You just
Sarah.
do, yeah, you don't write Sarah, you write Sarah seller, because Sarah is the seller. Then again you write car one. I am taking my what is it? My putting my efforts and for you guys to write it, because definitely you will find it figuring out somewhere very close to you. Maybe in your exam, maybe in some assignment somewhere. So I felt, let me once write it and show it to you. How does it look? So the second one is car one dot current owner. Sarah sells it to whom? Bob.
Bob.
So you say Bob buyer, and here you put the curly braces, close it. Then after that, if you remember in the last part, what did we have? Signatures. In signatures we said output signed by Sarah seller. She's wherever we have written yesterday Sarah, it's understood, it's Sarah seller, otherwise the system won't accept it. Then below this we had written output signed by Bob buyer. Bob and Sarah name has to be in capital. This is what was the last part in the response part. So this describes the response to Sarah's transaction approval, and it contains the desired result of the car transfer transaction. See, please understand, although the smart contract logic is private to the transaction response most definitely is not. So what we will do, we will examine the response element in a little more detail. So we find there are two fields here. The first field, what you find it as output. The second field, what you find as signatures. This output field describes the output of car transfer smart contract. And again, even though we cannot see the program logic that generated this output, we definitely can see the result of that logic, which is the structure of which has two components. This structure of this output has two components. Please, I'll just take out my, go to my next screen. So this has two components. Can somebody tell me which are these two components? This output of this response has two internal components. The first is before image, it is before hyphen image, which you say as car1 dot current owner, which is who is nothing but the Sarah. Current owner is Sarah seller. And you have got another one internal component called after image, who is nothing but, which is nothing but car1 dot current owner, who is Bob buyer. This B and B, it's always capital. That is B of Bob and B of buyer. It has to be written in caps. And even in current owner, although it is a single word, O is capital in this. Please understand the before image here, which I have shown, represents the state of the ledger before the transaction. That is, Sarah is the current owner of car 1, and the after image, it represents the desired state of the ledger after the transaction. And then Bob becomes the new owner of car 1 because Sarah sells this car 1 to Bob. The before image and after image therefore represent this current and desired new state of the business object. This is the desired state. See, Sarah desires to sell car to Bob. It's not that Sarah is selling the car. No, these words are very important. Please understand. Sarah desires to sell the car to Bob. This is you're representing a transaction that is occurring. Technically speaking, the states in this before image and after image contain the transaction read set and write set respectively. First, what it does, it reads the set. Thereafter, it writes the set saying that the current owner of car 1 is Bob. So we think of this read set and write set as the pre and post conditions for the transaction. The pre-condition is Sarah is the owner, post-condition is Bob is the owner. We can see that both images are described in terms of the current owner attribute of the car 1 business object. And in Hyperledger Fabric, car 1 together with its properties is called a state. Please remember this. In this Hyperledger Fabric, car 1 together with its properties is called a state. And what we will do, we will see little more about this program smart contract. And we also know that a ledger is a set of transactions that determine the current value of the ledger. Ledger is nothing but there are a number of transactions which tell you about the current status of the ledger. Now, for example, let's say prior to a car transfer transaction, the ledger transaction may have been something like what I shall write for you on this on the screen. Maybe, see, in this what we are seeing, Sarah is selling the car to Bob. Maybe that, and the ledger also reflects the same. Now, maybe that before the car transfer transaction, you might have had the car ledger reflecting something like car 1. It must have shown current owner Sarah. It could have also shown car 2 as current owner, maybe I say Anina, and car 3. Let me say the current owner. It must have shown as maybe Renato. It must be. Maybe the ledger is like this. As a result, what will happen? The ledger would have values as the car 1 current owner as Bob, the car 2 current owner as Anina, car 3 current owner as Renato, because Sarah has sold it to Bob. That's why the current transaction becomes car 1 current owner is Bob. Moreover, if you query the current value of the ledger before the transaction, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, which we had declared earlier yesterday, then car 1 will be shown as owned by Sarah. But if you query the current value after the transaction, the owner will be shown as Bob. I hope this is clear in your mind. Yes or no? Tell me, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, the signature field, what is there in the smart contract, is a very important element in the response. And we know if the signature field contains two values, which we had seen yesterday, which says output signed by Sarah seller. And below that, we also had output signed by Bob buyer. These are the two signature fields. They are very, very important. This what we have written is the shorthand for the transaction output Like what remember this is the last what we had in the screen yesterday, where we had output signed by Sarah Seller, output signed by Bob Buyer. This is nothing but what I would say is the shorthand for the transaction output. Car1, sorry, no, I'm sorry, it is car1 dot current owner, which I would say is Sarah. She has sold this car1 dot current owner is Bob now. Since Sarah has sold it to Bob, this is the shorthand for the transaction output, the output which I had shown you in the previous screen, which says output signed by Sarah Seller and output signed by Bob Buyer. This what I've written is cryptographically hashed using Sarah's private key and Bob's private key. Do you agree or not? This whatever I have written, car1 dot current owner is Sarah, comma car1 dot current owner is Bob. This is cryptographically hashed using Sarah's private key and Bob's private key. Am I right, or are we together till here? Tell me. Are you
Yes,
getting
sir.
it? Yeah, okay. See, in any multi-party transaction such as this, what I've shown, both Sarah's hash and Bob's hash, as well as each public key is included. The big difference is that the response contains something called as multiple signatures. Multiple signatures. And up to this point, the transaction which we told yesterday when we defined the smart contract, we said the transaction has a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. This transaction has been like a traditional transaction, but these multiple signatures make it very, very difficult from a traditional transaction. So unlike a traditional transaction, this transaction has multiple signatories. Who are they? They are Bob and Sarah. It's not just Sarah saying she's happy with the transaction, or not just Bob saying he's happy with it. They are both agreeing to this transaction change at the same time. And that's what we mean by a multi-party transaction. So in case you encounter anywhere somebody asking you what is a multi-party transaction, you have to write the small little sweet paragraph. Is it clear, or does anybody want me to repeat it? But I shall
Excuse me, sir.
request you, yeah, tell me please.
So you said that Sarah and Bob both have to means that both of them, both the private key will be required
Yes,
in sending the transaction or the asset.
correct.
But it's because we are using it here Fabric, or what means we can use one's public and one's private key also.
No, that is if one person is sending. For a multi-party transaction, you require both their private keys. Because see, all these things I'm elucidating for you to understand what is a multi-party transaction. And don't worry, for any multi-party transaction, whether it is 2 people, 3, 4, or 100 people, you require everybody's private key. Have you understood or not?
Okay, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
yes, clear.
Once again, I shall repeat for you what is a multi-party transaction. And I shall request you, please jot down whatever important you find in what I say. Please do not wait for you to listen to a cricket commentary like something at the end of the session, listening to the recording. See, I said a very big difference is that the response of this Bob and Sarah, they contain multiple signatures. And till now, we very well know that this transaction which you have taken as this number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, which you had taken yesterday when we defined the smart contract, has been like a traditional transaction. But these multiple signatures make it very, very difficult from a traditional transaction. So unlike a traditional transaction, the transaction has multiple signatories. And in this case, we have two, Bob and Sarah. And it's not just like Sarah saying that she's happy with the transaction, nor just Bob saying he's happy with it. They are both agreeing to this transaction change at the same time. And that's what we mean by a multi-party transaction. So please remember this. This is what is a multi-party transaction. That is two or more people being involved in any transaction. Where rightly, as you said, both exchange their private key for any message, all these things, and you need to write this saying that, say you take an example of a transaction, and what we have taken here is the car transaction. You can take any example and explain this multi-party transaction. So as before, the output signature with its combination of two cryptographic hashes together with Sarah and Bob's public key means that anyone with access to this transaction can verify the transaction response. Moreover, the transaction response is now tamper proof. Can somebody tell me why is this tamper proof now? This transaction between Sarah and Bob, I would say it is tamper proof because, well, see, one small hint for you, because with this combination of two cryptographic hashes, that is together with Sarah and Bob's public key, means that anyone with access to this transaction can verify the transaction response. So this transaction, I would say, is tamper proof. Can somebody tell me why? Why is it tamper proof? Tell me. Try something. Yeah.
So because it has been digitally signed by both of them, and if someone has to change it, they need their keys to do so.
100% correct. 100% you're correct. Be very correct. See, I was looking for those keywords as keys, but you should have told private key. Great, no problem. But it is wonderful that your answer is right. See, I said this transaction is tamper proof because it's changing the output here, or either hash or signature without access to Sarah and Bob's private key, and is, I would say, impossible. So we presume that this transaction is tamper proof, and then the response is even more so. Again, we see how important cryptography is in Hyperledger Fabric to ensure that individual transactions are verifiable and transfer proof. See, the key thing what we have discussed till now is the importance of cryptography in Hyperledger Fabric. Definitely, all this story which we rattled out is to tell you on how important cryptography is in Hyperledger Fabric. Basically, to ensure that the individual transactions are verifiable and transfer proof. I would say that it is definitely worth noting that we cannot see the program logic that generated this transaction output, and in fact, it is deliberate. We simply have a record of the facts of the transaction, who proposed it, who agreed to it, and the business objects that were changed. So, till here, has anybody any doubt? Yes, or can we proceed ahead? Tell me.
No doubt, sir.
Okay, now we get to the core of this thing, that is, let's understand what is a ledger. See, with our good grasp, or I would say solid grasp on this multi-party transaction, we are ready to see how it is stored. This multi-party transaction, how is it stored at the heart of Hyperledger Fabric blockchain system? And can somebody tell me how is this multi-party transaction stored in the heart of a Hyperledger Fabric blockchain system?
So using some application.
No, friend, what I've written on the screen, you in a ledger, it is stored in a ledger. This multi-party transaction is stored at the heart of Hyperledger Fabric blockchain in a ledger. And can you, in your same breath, can you tell me? I would say a Hyperledger Fabric has two major components. Which are they? Which are these two major components? Right. See, you guys are going to write a paper, so definitely it's been quite some time since it has passed. We have told that, and we have even extended the date. So there's no question of extending the date anymore. So kindly, you may come up with whatever it is. What are the two major components of a Hyperledger Fabric ledger? It has got what is called as a state database, and it has also called it and it has a blockchain. These are the two important components of a Hyperledger Fabric ledger, which is a state database and a blockchain. Okay, we will see both of these components in great detail. Let's start off with the first one, that is the state database. This state database is the ledger component that is most frequently accessed because it contains the current value of all business objects. And users are usually most interested in the current value of a business object rather than any of its previous historical values. In our example, we are interested in the current owner of car 1. Whether it is Sarah or Bob makes no difference. We are interested in the current owner of car 1. We might just as likely be interested in the current bank balance of a bank account or our current academic qualification. Similar to that, we are just interested in who is the owner of this car 1, which we have been taking this example. The state database is something which is backed up by real database, which can be, I don't know whether you've heard of this, which can be LevelDB or CouchDB. These are real databases, which is the state database is backed up by real database, which can be either LevelDB or CouchDB. But programs don't need to worry about this. And what's important for a program accessing the ledger is the understanding that the state database contains the current value of all business objects in this ledger. And for this reason, it's often called by one another name. It's called as world state. So maybe you'll find people referring to this as world state. It means a state database. The state database is hugely simplifying data structure, and unlike other blockchain, most notably Bitcoin is also a blockchain. Okay, unlike other blockchains, most notably Bitcoin, the state database means that users of the ledger don't need to individually accumulate the history or changes of every business object. They simply get it from the state database. Of course, the current value of any object is simply the result of the transaction that have acted upon it. But it's very helpful to have the current value of every object easily accessible. Till here, are we all comfortable? Tell me. Anybody, anything, you want to clarify anything, please ask me. See, even anywhere in the world, whether it is Rajkot or whether it is United States or United Kingdom, wherever in the world you learn on blockchain, there is intense amount of things which you need to understand. We are just doing a small iota of that, a very, very small portion of that. So for sure, you will have to understand all these things. Anybody, anything you're not understood, let me know. The crux of what we have covered in the last few minutes, we have said that the state database is backed by a real database, which can either be a LevelDB or CouchDB. But all the programs which act in the state database need not worry about this. What is important for the program accessing the ledger is the understanding that the state database contains a current value of all business objects in the ledger. So it's for this reason it is also called as world state. Is it clear, not clear to you? Tell me please.
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. Now, can you tell me if I would say each state within the state database has what kind of structure? Say, I have got a state database. Each state within the state database contains what kind of structure? What is the type of structure that it contains?
So it itself is a blockchain.
No, it is a simple structure and it contains just two things. It contains a key and a set of name value pairs. It contains a key and a set of this name value pairs. That's all. It contains a very simple structure. Now, what we will do, I'll just show you diagrammatically what is the structure of this state. For which, let me open up another canvas sheet for you so that it's clear. We go by the same example of this car 1 which we are taking. I would say car 1 and then I would say owner is, let me say Sarah. Let me say the make is Volvo, and in the same line we say the power is electric. So this whole thing comes into in the form of a rectangle, and which is split over here. And here, what I said, the key value pairs. This is the key, and this is the values. This is the key value pair. See, the state represents the business object car 1, and you can see that the key for the state contains the value car 1. The key is how we refer to it within the state database. And we will use the key when we initially create this business object, when we read its value, and when we update it. And the key is how we address the business objects in all circumstances. Fine. Are we comfortable till here? Yes or no? Please tell me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the second thing what we said we have is the blockchain. Now we know what is a ledger. We will get into the other side of the ledger, which is the blockchain. See, a blockchain contains a historical record of multi-party transaction stored in a sequence of blocks that are linked together. And that's why it is given the name blockchain. The name blockchain is given because this contains the historical records of multi-party transactions which are stored in a sequence of blocks that are linked together. And that's why the name blockchain is given to it. Now, any blockchain contains full transaction history of whatever you're referring to. Since in this example we are referring to car 1, it contains a complete history of this car 1. When was it purchased, who was the first owner, it has been transformed, when it has been sold to whom, and so on, all the complete records of this. So can we say that this blockchain component or the state component, they are immutable blocks? Can we say, or cannot we say this?
Yes, sir, we can say.
Yeah, these are immutable blocks and the transactions are also immutable. See, please understand this combination of individual transaction signing, block hashing, and block replication across multiple independent organizations is what makes a blockchain immutable. Please understand this, and again I shall repeat it for you. The combination of individual transaction signing, block hashing, and block replication across multiple independent organizations is what makes a blockchain immutable. And once a transaction is returned to the ledger, it cannot be deleted. Even if I want to see how well you understood the ledger, I give you a question saying that you write a transaction, erase it, overwrite a transaction. You should say that once a transaction is returned to the ledger, it just cannot be deleted. It has been recorded forever and inextricably linked with all the other previous transactions in the blockchain. This thing is very important property. Definitely, it cannot be deleted, it cannot be changed, it cannot be appended, nothing. Are we comfortable till here? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
So now if I ask you guys just to draw out for me pictorially on say the applications and smart contract that operate within a consensus framework, or the framework in which this smart contract operates, how will you draw it out for me? See, once you draw it out correctly, that means you have understood what it is. Please take a paper and pen, see if you can draw it. I want you to draw out for me on how a smart contract operates within a consensus framework. Please try and draw it. Same example you can take, car 1. You definitely need an example. You take this as car 1. See, even for any interview, wherever you go in the world to work, whether India or overseas, when you explain a thing, it's always better you diagrammatically explain it. Or if there is an algorithm, write the algorithm and show it to them. This is possible. This is the way how it operates. So please, can you just take a paper and a pen and draw it out for me? Don't rely on your computer. You will not be able to draw it well. So if you can draw out a smart contract, how it this smart contract operates within a consensus framework. Can you draw it out for me? Is there anybody who's trying it? Or all of you have given up? Don't worry, you're hungry for your lunch. I'm also hungry for my lunch. Don't worry. So please tell me, how do you draw out, or a pictorially, how do you represent the application and smart contract that operate within a consensus framework? Don't you feel, or is it that you're trying, you want me to wait for some time for you? Tell me, somebody tell me please.
Yes, trying.
Yeah, please try. I shall wait for a couple of minutes for you. See, a hint for you, it has to start from application, because we are seeing on the application and smart contracts that operate within a consensus framework.
Sir, I didn't understood what you're saying about application. What do you need to do?
Yeah, I said the applications, whichever application, whether it is an application or a smart contract, how does it operate within a consensus framework? For this, I wanted you to pictorially represent it for me. So I shall start off. Don't worry, I'll do it very slowly so that you put in the efforts. Applications. What application does? It submits transaction input to network. Its application submits a transaction input to the network, and here we have what is consensus. Let me draw it in the form of a cloud. And this consensus feeds what is it? A blockchain. I have a blockchain over here. Blockchain contains all the things. Maybe let me show it with 2 blocks. Let me show it with block, say some number, block 10 and block 11. Block 11. This whole thing is the blockchain. And after this, this recalculates new current values to the state database. Recalculates new current values to whom? To the state database. State database, all right. State database. This state database, you guys very well know. I shall show it as a cylinder. This has got who is the owner of car 1, who is the owner, who was the owner or current owner earlier. Say on top, let me show it as car 1, current owner Sarah. Second, let me show as car 1, current owner, let me say Anina. And car 1, the last one, let me show as the current owner Ronaldo. This feeds up to this, and from here, this also gets a feed from the consensus. And here, what I have the smart contract, and below this, I have my endorsement policy, EPL, right? Endorsement policy. This consensus feeds to this smart contract. That is, the consensus calls the smart contract with transaction input for each organization. And this smart contract, what it does, it calculates the change using current value of state. So I shall draw an arrow this way. This calculates the change using current value of state. So I shall write this over here. Calculates the change using current value of state. That's it. This is the application and smart contract, how it operates within a consensus framework. My suggestion to you is you may just pull it down on your book or your paper, wherever you would definitely require this. For sure, you would require this.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
Sir, why the application is written in the beginning? Means this ledger whole thing is maintained in one application or what?
No, see what happens. Initially, I wrote application because I wanted to see how any application and smart contract operate within a consensus framework. When basically I wanted to enlarge the scope of consensus. So I said this application, it submits transaction input to network. That is the straight line which you see, which goes into consensus. And what does consensus do? Consensus calls smart contract with transaction input for each organization, which is what I have shown here. Then after this, this one calculates the change using current value of state, which is what I have written here. This consensus also assemble and distribute multi-party transaction, which comes up over here. And this gives to the blockchain. And what blockchain does, it recalculates new current value. And this goes to the state database. And the state database gets a feed from the smart contract as well as from the blockchain, which is the transaction history. That's all. That's why I wrote application, because it submits transaction input to the network. This is a broader and a real-time view of how application and smart contracts operate within a consensus framework. Ask me if you've still got doubt. Absolutely no problem.
Sir, and any transaction, the transaction is stored in two places. First in state database, then in blockchain.
It
Or
is not,
both are the same thing?
no, both are different. State database and blockchain are different. This when the transaction comes to the blockchain, it recalculates the new current value and feeds it to the state database. The end point is the state database, and the beginning point is application. What I shall do, I shall write numbers for you. That will be better. This is first, then what happened, this is second, then this I would say is third, then I say this is fourth, and this is fifth. This happens in this sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what I've written. I have not written these numbers for you. Now I've labeled it. The numbers stand for how it operates. After 1 is 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. See, more better you would be able to understand once you draw this thing neatly on your book, draw all the lines, write whatever I said. Like, although for 4 what is written, I have not told you what a consensus does. It assembles and distributes multi-party transaction. This is the real-time representation, not an academic representation. Once again, this is a real-time representation of how application and smart contract operate within a consensus framework. See, friends, definitely one fine day, which will be probably be very shortly. Say, if you work in a blockchain arena, you would very frequently keep hearing these terms. Then you can correlate, draw up the picture in your mind. You can proudly say, I know how block application and smart contracts operate within a consensus framework. And outrightly, you can flash this picture. Any doubt anymore on this? Tell me. Or you want me to tell you once more on the smart contract and consensus? Or how is that this application and smart contract operate within a consensus framework? Tell me, brother. It's either yes or no. There's nothing 50-50 in this.
So,
Yeah, tell me.
so is this state database available to everyone, or is it just limited to the ones who are signing the smart contract?
This state database is available only to the people who sign the smart contract, but it contains a history of all through. Now, it does not mean, say, a smart contract is being signed between me and you. It is available to only me and you. Although it is correct, it is available to me and you, but it contains record of all the thing right from inception, which is being considered as part of smart contract. Like here, what we are considering this car one. So the state database contains all the values of car one ever since it was manufactured. Say it has been sold to 100 people. Everybody's name would be there in this. Every detail would be there in this. But currently, it is available only to me and you. Unless otherwise I put it in a private public network, I say let it be available to everybody. Fine, not fine.
Yes, sir. Fine.
Yeah, you have to understand. And once again, let me tell you, it is not that simple as you find it. Definitely, you'll have to draw it once again so that you are able to understand it really well, what these things are. Because although maybe a very sketchy kind of a drawing I have done, definitely you'll have to draw it neatly for you to understand this. One more wonderful news for you. Today is the last day with this module 4 of yours. So after this, we have just got 2 more modules to knock it off. When is your mid-semester test exam or test or whatever?
It's starting from 15th March.
15th of March.
So definitely, since 15th of March, also another about 15 more days or 2 more weeks, at least 2, definitely we will finish another 1 more module and little bit of the last module. So maybe immediately after your mid-semester exam, the entire thing gets wiped off. Or unless otherwise, if we get some extra classes here and there, we will knock off everything before your mid-semester exam. So that you're fully geared up, fully mounted to take on whatever the whole lot of these things in blockchain. We incidentally, that's what I said, today is the last session for you in this module, the current module, which although we have gone to little bit more depth, not little bit, quite a bit more on what is specified in your syllabus on smart contract, all these things on application and smart contract, how it operates within consensus frame. All this is not there in your syllabus. We have done it because I felt it is essential for you to understand what these things are. Kindly do one thing, mark up yourself. 521013, 59590, 619169, 989832, 466905, 4 double. अरे भाई जल्दी बोलो यार. 443952, 496596, 733011, 15001, 15002, 15003, 15004,
Yes, sir. Present 004.
15005, 15006, 15101. What's your number? One.
One.
Okay. 15102, 15106,
Present, sir.
15107,
Present, sir. 007.
15108,
Present, sir.
151010,
Yes, sir. Present.
151012,
Yes, sir.
151013,
Yes, sir.
151014,
Yes, sir.
151015,
Yes, sir.
151016,
Yes, sir.
151018, 151019, Rituraj Singh Rathod,
Yes, sir.
151022,
Present, sir.
151024,
Present, sir. 24.
151027,
Yes, sir.
151028,
Present.
151029, 29,
Yes, sir.
151030, 151031,
Yes, sir.
151035,
35 present.
151037,
Present, sir.
151039,
Present, sir.
151041, 151044, 151045,
45 present, sir.
151048, 151001,
Present, sir.
151002,
Present, sir.
Aniket Charanya,
Yes, sir.
Harsh Damecha, Anand Gotani, Kavan Prajapati,
Yes, sir.
Rushi Kanjaria,
Present, sir.
Kishan,
Yes, sir. Present.
Yes, sir.
Mohil Balani,
Yes, sir.
Parth Pokar,
Yes, sir.
Vinod Rathod, Rikin,
Yes, sir.
Meet Safsani, Sitanshu, Tilak Ved,
Yes, sir.
Paras Bhai Viradia, Abhishek Trivedi,
Present, sir.
Chintan Lakani, 151036.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Have I missed out anybody?
Sir, 30.
Sir, Vinod.
Vinod Rathod.
Sir,
Okay.
30.
18, sir. 18. 1018.
Sir, 003.
18. 003.
Sir, Harsh Dhamecha.
Sir, Ruturaj.
Harsh Dhamecha. Where were you,
Yes,
friend? Why didn't you mark yourself? Okay. Done. Okay. Fine.
Sir, Ruturaj. Sir, Ruturaj.
Rituraj. Where are you?
Sir, 20.
20.
20.
Rituraj.
Sir, Upar. Sir, 20.
You're my present. There are two of you who answered for you. There are multiple Rituraj Singh in your class.
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. So what we will do, we will stop this session here. Definitely we will meet up on Monday, which is the next session. But for the next session, the new module starts. We have finished up this. And despite what we have done, anybody in amongst you guys interested, you can please reach out. We shall separately do something for you where I'll tell you how do you practically work with these Bitcoins. How do you open an account? How do you practically create a wallet? Which are the strong wallets? Which one you should prefer? Not this is not being done for me to make you a great gambler. No, it is just being done for you for the purpose of knowledge, so that we are able to infuse some knowledge in you. Okay, but please get into this act of writing paper, doing something good. And all those of you who are still not decided, please reach out to me. We will all form a single group. I will be along with you and we shall write a paper. All those who have still not decided on what to write, where to write, when to write, and how to write, you can reach out to me. We will all form a combined group and we will write it together, including me. Okay, so anybody wanting to ask me anything for the session which we conducted today?
No, sir.
Fine. Thank you. Have a nice day and have a nice weekend.
Sir,
Yeah, tell me.
sir, actually you didn't mark assignment 3 till now of mine.
Don't worry, we will mark it, whatever is pending. I generally do all these things on Sunday when I'm a little bit free. Okay, we will do it, don't worry. Thank you. Have a nice
Thank you,
day.
sir.